Alright, the Lakers really had no chance of winning this game because without Austin and Braun, they didn't have secondary ball handlers to provide enough scoring, and that eventually caught up to them in the end. As expected, the Spurs' defensive game plan was to either force Luka off the rock or force him into a tough shot, because they just wanted to show him a crowd as often as possible, so on his ones, they were tilting. Then in his screening actions, they were having their guards go over every screen while their bigs were in a drop, and they were even having the high help pull over at times. It didn't matter if that help was on the two or single side, and they were basically funneling him into that space because they're probably the best team at defending screening actions, so they were allowing him to exploit their drop. Their bigs are long enough to play too, so they're usually able to help in a drop while still being able to recover back to their man, and their guards are usually able to recover back in front of their man because they're some of the best at navigating screens. I think the tough part about Luka is his ability to hostage, because once his defender trails the play, he's never in a rush, so he's able to keep them on his hip, and he's always able to make the right read against the drop. But as great as he is, it was damn near impossible for him to create everything offensively. The Spurs have multiple defenders that can check him, and they all play with the same level of aggression, so it really doesn't matter who they have covering him, because they can just switch 1 through 4. There were instances where the Lakers had to run some off-ball screens for him just to break that initial pressure, because their denial is just as aggressive, and as long as they made everything difficult for him, they were willing to live with the others getting the shots. It was obvious they had no respect for them, because they weren't too concerned about the Lakers' backside advantage, so they continued shrinking the floor against him, and there were even instances where they sold against him in the backcourt just to force the others into making decisions. The others obviously aren't that comfortable in that role, because they're usually playing off the decision-making of the Lakers' ball handlers, not the other way around, and without a secondary playmaker in Austin or Braun, the Spurs could get away with that without any repercussions. The Lakers had to delegate ball handling responsibilities to Smart, Smith, and Vincent throughout, but those three were usually exploiting the drop to get their shots off, and they missed a lot of those, so there wasn't much to show for their touches. By the end of the game, the Lakers barely managed to crack 90, because they couldn't generate enough offense with Luka on the floor, and it only got worse when he was off it, so they were just barely staying afloat throughout the night. But at least their defense was good, because that end of the floor was what really allowed them to stay in the game, and a lot of it was stemming from their help. They were consistently in the gaps, so they were always ready to peel for one another or rotate, and the way they were flying around in this scramble really made it difficult for the Spurs to generate an offensive flow, because they struggled in the half-court, especially shooting from deep. When Wemby was off the floor, they couldn't exploit the Lakers' bigs dropping against their screening actions. Then when Wemby was on the floor, they couldn't exploit the Lakers' reading 1 through 5. And it didn't even have to be for him to get a mismatch. It could have been for the others, because he didn't need one a lot of the times. When they had Sohan or Bryant on the floor, the Lakers were assigning Hayes or Ayen onto them, because the Lakers wanted Hayes or Ayen to cheat off them as help. So Kleba was Wemby's primary matchup in those lineups, and he could have just attacked that, but they either didn't find him enough, or he just missed some good looks. They basically had to rely on catching the Lakers' defense out of position, because those were their best scoring opportunities, and they were usually doing that by attacking the gaps on the catch, so whenever the Lakers were in help, or just in transition whenever the Lakers weren't matched up. It didn't even have to necessarily be a run out, and if they weren't getting a bucket, then they were getting a whistle, because they were making up for their rough shooting by getting downhill non-stop, so at least they got a couple benefits from their paint pressure. A lot of it stemmed from Keldon Johnson early, because per usual, he was getting downhill as soon as he subbed in, and the Lakers could not stop him from spinning back to his right, so he was able to give them control of the game in the second. In the third, they just maintained that control off more runouts. Then in the fourth, They were finally able to exploit Wemby's advantages, and nothing changed from his earlier minutes because the Lakers were in the exact same coverage, so it was just a matter of them being able to attack the matchups they wanted. Just watch the tape.